we were talking together about habits and focus, and I think it would be really helpful for the young women who are watching us to understand what that has to do in their lives. And so, MJ, you had a story about walking on the high wire and what it meant to have those habits. Could you tell us that?
So a few months back, was kind of I was in a counseling session and I saw a visual of these three chairs on a beach. And on the back of these chairs were the words fear on one chair, doubt on another chair, and shame and guilt on the third chair. And I knew right off when I saw it what it meant. As you know, if you when you hear of chairs on a beach, you're what are you doing? But you're there to relax. You're there to enjoy. You're there to be comfortable, right? Um, but fear, doubt, shame, guilt, those are not exactly comfort words, you know. We don't look at them as comfort words. But what we don't realize is that we can get comfortable in those areas. And I've just come to a place where I realize I don't want them anymore as comforts. And so um, I was led to give them over to God. And by giving them over to God, um, when I was growing up, I was always taught to go to the altar and, say your prayers to God and thank him and then get up and go. I was never taught to wait for the Lord and see what he has to fill in that area of my life.
Mhm.
And that was new to me. And it was actually freeing because there's so many times now that I'm learning that I can break free from something, a habit or whatever, and give it over to God, and but not just leave it there, but to listen and expect something in return from Him. That He's just a good Father. That's what He wants. He's a Father to us, and so He wants to pour out goodness to us. So by doing that and waiting, saw Him kind of like come to me and say, I have these three things for you. And he gave me a funky pair of shoes and a weighted belt and this flimsy rod pole. And I thought, wow, okay. And he kind of, I saw his hands go on my shoulders and just kind of pivot me. And I felt like that had meaning to it. And as he pivoted me, I saw these two enormous mountains with a wire in between. So guess what I was doing? Guess what I was about to do? I was about to go up on a high wire. And I felt like God was instructing me and telling me, you're going to put the shoes of peace, my shoes of peace on your feet, and that every step that you take will be on that wire and it will have purpose. It will have meaning. It will have direction. And then he gave me this weighted belt, which would I felt was the belt of truth, that I could trust him in whatever I was doing. As long as I was on that wire with that belt around my waist, it was going to be securely fastened in his ways, which was on that wire. And then obviously, we know what the rod is. It's a flimsy rod that most people that are high wire acrobats use to balance themselves. And so, if you have that, it's a very long, unusually long pole. And if you have it over to one side, there's no way that you're going to be able to balance because there's too much on one side. So, he's I felt like he was telling me that I am going to have this balance and it's his word. His word will balance me as I take each step. Um, so I thought, well, that's really cool. Thank you, Jesus. Um, but he has a plan and a purpose for us, people. And he says it. He's right out there saying, I have a Jeremiah 29:11 says, I have a plan and a purpose for you, a purpose to prosper you and not to harm you, but to give you a future and a hope. And I just felt like that was what was lining up for me. I did not know why or what for. And sometimes that's the way life is. We just continually trust him and put our faith in him and just walk step by step by step. There's so much more to that, but I don't know if I really answered your full full question, but
Well, yeah,
that
so
was what the vision was. So
your
It's so true.
focus was on the Bible,
Yeah.
right? And on your poll. And but what were the habits that you needed to get into to be on the wire,
what were the habits?
to get to your
Um,
focus?
so yeah, so um, leaning into him, really. So since writing my first children's book, it has opened up avenues that I never expected. and um and yet it's truly what he's saying. Like I can look at this whole scene for myself
Mm-hmm.
because I, being a gymnast, a gymnastics instructor, the majority of my life, doing gymnastics. When I was 50 years old, I was up on the trapeze, and it was on my bucket list. It was something that I wanted to do for I don't know how long, all my life or whatever. It's an identification. Like he was, letting me see in a way that I can relate to. And so uh, going into new endeavors now that maybe I tried when I was, younger, being a young mom. Um, I had a lot of like um, setbacks, I guess you could say. And I would just sabotage quickly because I would either get overwhelmed or just confused or whatever. And rather than having a place to go to be able to push through and walk through um, those stumbling blocks, whether it be like what we're doing, talking with each other and sharing our testimonies and some of the things that we've gone through to be able to help others, um, I would just feel defeated. And I just feel as though that when um, this visual comes to mind, it it teaches me to continually go to him. Like so much so, it says in the Bible to give thanks always, to pray continually. And I used to look at that as pray continually. Oh, okay. So how are we going to do that? We're going to close our hands. We're going to do this. It's like we can't do that all the time. That's not really praying. Continually praying is actually a conversation, um, and it's a conversation with God. Some people might call it a higher being, whatever, but that higher being is God, and He wants to have a relationship with us. A relationship means just like what we're producing. We're establishing more of a trust with each other. We are beginning to know each other more and more, and it's like in that being relatable, we understand the way we function, our habits, all of those different things. It's almost like we are becoming one body, right? So we're becoming that, you know, beautiful. I'll just use a totally different picture, but like flower, where the aroma of Christ. I'm going to go way off because I can do that, but it has taught me to go to him and lean on him. He says, that I will be walking in peace. How do you walk in peace, but to, as my editor would say, to trust the umpire. Let peace be your umpire. And his word is my umpire. Like he is the one that's going to teach me how to continually walk in the peace that passes all understanding. But in order for me to be taught, and in order for me to hear that, in order for me to know that, I have to continually lean on his word, balance it,
Mm.
and let it, um, what's the word I want to use? Let it uh, reflect out, I guess you could say, um, by trusting him, by trusting that what he says he's going to accomplish. He
Yeah.
who began a good work is faithful to complete it.
Yeah. And he'll
So
never
yeah,
leave you nor forsake you either, right? I
no,
mean,
right,
just being on that high wire, right? Like he's never going to leave you nor forsake you. And going from one place to the next as a young mom is just taking one step at a time, very slowly. And the
yeah,
balance, letting Jesus hold your hand as just
yeah,
one step at a time. You're not going
yeah,
to go too fast. You're
mm-mm,
not going to hop, skip, and jump. It's just one step at a time. And you've
yeah.
got direction. This is where I want to go. And keep your focus.
As you say that, I can visualize. So that's the kind of person I am, having visuals. I can see the high wire person that is on the high wire. They actually take their foot and they, the foot goes onto the wire very slowly. It slides on so that they can sense the feeling of the foot, because if you obviously don't have it like over this way, you're not going to get across that wire. You have to have it centered. So you have to actually give that sense of feeling of where you're stepping. And like I said, the editor of mine said, let peace be your umpire. So when you're stepping into that, you allow yourself to sense whether or not that's peace. It's discernment. I struggled with that. I struggled with, how do you discern? Like, nope, nope, it's not happening. Like, well, how do you learn to discern, right? That's how you learn to discern. You let yourself take that step, and then you just sense by his word, not by not by feelings, because feelings can be deceiving, and not even by your heart, because the heart, it's deceiving as well. It's by his truth, it's by his word. you know um the word judges us. And I'm not saying that in a terrible way. I'm saying that if we understand his word for us, that love hopes all things, love endures all things, love conquers all things. Love is God. God is the word. His word will gently guide those steps. I could go on. Oh, pull back. Pull back. Oh.
Irene, for moms with young kids, what are the habits that helped you focus in the direction that you were headed as a young mom?
As a young mom, I would always go um, follow the child's lead, and go, okay, so my children are into this, so I'm not going to worry about having my house perfectly spotless. They need this right now, so I need to be present. How can I be present as a mom? They are really needing this right now. So I need to be there for them. Now, if I need to focus on okay, you need to focus, you need to be firm, on playing with your own things because mommy needs to do this right now. But give them the assurance that I'm going to be right over here cooking dinner. And if you would like to help me, you can. Um, but if you don't, I need you to be here and be firm about that and just be firm in your directions and and then just do what you need to do and then be present again. And when you get relief, then you need to take care of yourself one step at a time. Getting up early in the morning, doing your devotions. I'm a firm believer in doing your devotions and spending that time with the Lord every single day. The Lord is your best friend. Hang on to him. He is your best friend because let's face it, being a mother is not for wimps.
It's true.
It's not
It's
for
true.
wimps. Like we were talking earlier, Marlena, like we've got like 25 file drawers open in our brains, right? And we've got to
Mhm.
deal with all 25 file drawers. So I can only handle this file drawer right now. I'm not going to worry about the 24 other open ones. So I need to focus with Johnny's wet pants right now. So deal with Johnny's wet pants, done.
Mhm.
Wash your hands, carry on. Do that. And then when you do have time for yourself, please take time for yourself. Like we had in another session, have a bath with beautiful
Mhm.
candles and beautiful music. But go to the store and buy yourself some beautiful flowers and put them on the table. It's like, yes, it's you have to treat yourself. You do. If you've got an extra, you know, go to the store, buy a lipstick for yourself. I know you guys don't wear lipstick, but I do. That's how I treat myself.
Actually, that might
It's
be a good idea. That might be a good idea, even if you don't really do that, and you don't have to do it to be out in the public. You can actually just do it, in your home.
yes.
Just put lipstick on just to let yourself feel that, because sometimes we just need to break away from that comfort zone, right? I
Oh
think
yeah.
that's a reminder of those three chairs, the fear, the doubt, the shame, and the guilt. That sometimes we feel guilty, like what you're talking about, Irene, is that we feel guilty because you know my children are first. Yes, they are. But I don't know who was it that shared, but if you're on an airplane and it starts going down, you
That
have
was
to put the air
Marlena.
mask on first. I'm
Yeah.
just
You
saying.
do. You
You
do.
know, it applies to how you feel about yourself. Another one that Marlena expressed was, getting out of your pajamas in the morning.
Yes, you do.
I mean, there are some days when it's quite okay to stay in your pajamas all day long,
Yeah.
but then there's most days where it actually makes a difference when you get into your own work clothes or whatever. But then another step is to get into a dressier outfit, even if you're not going anywhere. If you just allow yourself to be and not judge yourself or shame yourself or guilt yourself
Mhm.
or doubt yourself, because those all they all come from a place of fear, and that's what we want to break away from, is that place of fear that we can't be or we can't do or we can't go.
Right.
Um, s- so yeah, that's those things are good. Good,
One of
Irene.
my habits that I really started putting on myself was dressing
Yes.
in an appropriate manner. So, when you've got young kids, wearing a fancier outfit is obviously not appropriate for the day, right? But appropriate for me. And so I was part of the homeschool movement where everybody was wearing the jumpers, the denim jumpers, and sneakers. And I don't like sneakers with my dresses. That just makes me crazy. And so for me, my norm became a pair of jeans. I've got 8 boys. It just makes sense to wear a pair of jeans, but they're not covered in holes, and they're not covered in paint and stuff like that. They're nice jeans. So I usually wear a nice pair of jeans and I wear a blouse. I don't wear a lot of t-shirts. They make me feel grungy. They make me feel, oh, there's a really good word for that. Frumpy. They just make me feel frumpy. So I don't wear something that makes me feel frumpy unless I'm painting, digging in the garden, those kinds of things, because I know I'm getting dirty. But with small kids, and so now, my grandkids are over on a regular basis, I still wear a blouse. And they are washable, the easy wash kind of fabrics. So I don't feel bad about messing something up, but I also don't feel bad about the way I look. And I always, always, always put on a pair of earrings. Now, I don't wear makeup. It's kind of unfortunately obvious on screen, but I always have a pair of earrings on. If I don't, I missed something that day and it's not right and I feel off for my whole day. But those two things, just having a nice top and a pair of earrings on, makes me feel like I'm able to accomplish the next thing in my day. And I make my bed. And this has been a controversy
Yes.
for a
I do that.
big
Yes,
long
I do
time.
that.
I can't tell you how many women that are like, I just don't have time to make my bed. I can't do that every day. It's
Two
it's not
minutes.
healthy to cover up all of the hot sheets because they need to air out. You it's crazy. The excuses that we make up so that we don't follow through on something because we
Mhm.
just don't want to do it. Look, if you don't want to make your bed, don't make your bed. Find another habit that connects to your getting up in the morning so that you feel like you're able to accomplish the next thing that's coming your way. Because for
Yeah.
me, making my bed means I'm ready to leave my room. And if I'm ready to leave my room, that means I'm dressed. It means I have my earrings on. It means my bed is made. Those three things means I'm able to go out of my room and take care of the next thing, whether it's changing diapers, homeschooling a child, making breakfast, picking up the toys out of the living room because they dumped them before I got out there, those kinds of things. These three steps were so critical for me when I was in the depth of absolute depression that if I didn't get those things done, I wasn't able to function for the rest of the day. And I was
Mm.
constantly playing catch up. I was constantly in doubt of who I was, in doubt of what I was doing. I didn't feel like I was doing anything right. I was constantly in that mindset and it's a horrible place to be. And so if you've got depression, I would suggest finding the habits that make
Yes.
you focus on your task at hand. And so, your task at hand of being a mother is huge. It's overwhelming for every woman. It's a big job whether you have one child or nine kids. It's a big job being a mother is, and we don't put enough stock in how mothers really change the lives of the people around them just by what they teach their kids. And you need to know that you are so incredibly valuable.
Oh,
And
yes.
God gave you these children because he trusted you with his most valuable gift. Nobody can raise your children the way that he knows that you can raise your children. I cannot come in and raise anybody else's children better than I raised my own children or the same way I raised my own children. God gave those kids to you. But if you don't have the focus of where you're headed, it's hard to get those habits into place. And so I really felt like today, if we talked about for moms, why it's so important to make sure that they know how valuable they are and to make sure that they have some of the habits in place that help them get to that point, then we can transform motherhood in our society because it's such a gift. I mean, all three of us have been mothers, and I don't know of anything better.
Mm,
Being a grandmother is pleasant and beautiful and lovely, and I love them. But honestly, I wouldn't trade my children for anything.
no,
And I've heard people say, if I'd known how good being a grandparent was going to be, I would have done that first. And I don't agree with that.
no,
I love being a mother, and I value the relationships that I have with my children so much. And the blessing is just always there. And I want that for every mother out there, that that those relationships with your children are so incredibly valuable, but you have to put on your mask first, and you
yes.
have to take care of yourself. And so you've got to find those habits that work for you. Irene brought up reading the word every morning. I'm telling you, I get a shower, I get dressed, I make my bed. Those are my three main habits every morning. MJ, what is your main habit in the morning that gets you ready for
Well,
the
I was just going to share that, like we are, as three silver strands, we are examples where we're always, and when I say we, it's not just you and Irene and I, it's every person out there is a ministry. So every person
morning?
out there is either going to minister one way or another, whether it be positive or negative. And as you were talking a little bit earlier in the conversation, I had a visual of, a mama dressing up just to make herself feel good, but she could incorporate that right into a time of dressing, playing and dressing. You know, if you have a little girl, you can do dress up or whatever, and if you have a little boy, you can, put a little bow tie or whatever. And I remember watching a Instagram with a dad that used to sit down at his daughter's little um, table, and he would share an encouraging tip or whatever, while his little one, she was probably like 3, be serving him, and he would go right along like it was just a regular conversation with two people, but yet he was sharing a little to the world that was watching. And she would just, he would maybe ask her a little question that would be fitting for her, and she would, come out and answer or whatever. But it was so precious that, just have to keep that in mind, to allow yourself to be that little child with your children, that it's okay to dress up, and let your children dress up. They love doing that. They love that whole
Yeah.
pretend thing. But as far as your daily habits and all of that, my morning, um and this actually, it wasn't always like this, but I'm just finding that even if a blip of a thought comes to mind of something that transpired that brings on being thankful, I'm just automatically saying thank you, Lord, because I, I'm just finding that I'm just so thankful in being able to see all the goodness in the land of the living, what the Lord is doing, even in the smallest things. So, first thing in the morning, I just thank Him. I'm just so thankful that, you know, I heard about Him, and that I have the business, I have the um, knowledge, I have the capacity, I have the availability, I have the opportunity to be able to draw close to him, and that he's teaching me that on a daily basis. And so uh, I just thank him. I oftentimes will, because I have it by memory, I would, say the Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come, thy will be done On earth as it is in heaven, give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not to temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever. I think I would say that in the morning, and I would say it in the evening, because that covers all, like, but I also have been more so lately just saying, um, what do you have for me to do today? Um, because we can be thankful and we can do all those things and then just jump into the day, and we left him behind. And I don't want him to be left behind. I want him to be right in the forefront. And I want to learn to lean my ear to whatever it is that he's saying or doing. Because there's going to be requests that may not make sense or seem right or seem, you know, logical, but he will make the notion if you're attentive to him, and you'll know when to move, and you'll know what to do, and you'll know um, more and more um, what he has for you in your life um, as you go into the day. And when that happens, you're just that more peace, and um, you know when chaos can come quick, you know what to do with it, and it may not like wipe it out or anything, but you know that he has it through his word for us. That I mean, I cannot tell you how many times I've seen circumstances come through my house, and because of just a brief little prayer, under my breath, um, the the waves just calm down, and it's evident. um you know um so trusting him, all those things, trusting him and not making the move until he has told you what to do. And that might be a challenge, but I would say keep doing it every day, even if you feel like you're not hearing from him, or if you are not sure what to do, or just allow yourself to say, he's 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 the God of peace, he's the God of love, and he's the God of truth, and that you can walk in those things so in such a way that anytime that those things go awry, you can turn back and say, no, you told me you're a God of peace. You told me you're a God of truth. You remind him. That's what he wants us to do, is to remind him, because we do not wrestle against flesh and blood. We wrestle against these thoughts and these uh he- you know our emotions can be tattered with, and um we always can put him back in line to what he says, and let the enemy know that.
I think we have to
Enemy
be
has
really, really clear that, some of the things that we talk about, we've gotten very much older in life and, have become habits over time. The other thing is I think it's really important to include your kids in what you're doing.
yes,
So if you
of course.
are reading the word, there's private time that we have with God, right? But then we should also have that time where we're showing our children how to read the Word of God. I was not always good at that. I'm still not very good at that. I do read my Bible. I don't do it every morning. It's just not a habit I've been able to accomplish yet, but I do it. And my time with the Lord is usually different times of the day. But when I made it, important to have with my kids, it became a better habit to have, because then all of us were learning how to do it. Well, the same is true for, if mommy's putting on her makeup in the morning, it's okay to have chapstick for your child in the bathroom, and let them put on their chapstick, and let them brush their teeth with you, and find a nice thing to wear. But not every day is a day for fancy clothes. It's just not always like that, right? And so kids are out there playing, they're getting dirty and they're doing all the things and you're cleaning them up, and it's not always appropriate to have something fancy on. And I get that, but I think that if you can get some of these ideas younger than we were when they clicked in for us, I think you'll be in a um much more peaceful state, because then you're not having to relearn all the stuff that we relearned, growing up with babies on our own as well. So, ladies, thank you so much for talking about the way that you put your day forward and how it worked for you. Because I think that when we put our thoughts together, we're able to put together a better picture. And it's amazing to have somebody else to walk through life with. So I hope that this is encouraging for any young mom who is not able to figure some of that stuff out, but that she's able to find her focus on her family, and she's able to find the habits that put her into place and make sure that she's doing what God's called her to do in raising her family. So thanks so much for talking about this today.
Hey, bye for now.